and welcome to 20-Minute Tuesdays. I'm Pastor Eric, and tonight I am going to teach you how to juggle, or at least teach you a method to learn how to juggle. Now, credit where credit is due. This is not the process that I came up with on my own. What I'm going to share with you is material that I learned from the extensive and well-researched and well-detailed book called Juggling for the Complete Klutz. It's a book that you can still get. I got it years ago, and it actually came with these bean bags, Juggling for the Complete Klutz, which is that's really a nice thing that when you buy the book, it comes with bean bags for the juggling. Because tennis balls are great. Baseballs, they can be good too. Baseballs have a nice weight. They're the right size for the hand. The trouble is though, when you're practicing for the first time and maybe not going so well, when you do that, tennis balls go a lot further than bean bags do. So that's kind of the first thing, here I am, is that something like bean bags are a better choice for learning how to juggle than something like tennis balls. And again, to give credit where credit is due, the book Juggling for the Complete Klutz really is not some big involved volume about juggling. It's a small book with 3 steps. That's it. A very simple 3-step process to learn how to juggle. It worked for me, it can work for you too. All right, so the very first step is the toss. And that's kind of the heart of the whole thing, is the toss from one hand to the other. Because that's what juggling is, right? It's just a series of tossing something back and forth between 2 hands. And the toss itself it's very important, because what you want to do is get it so that when you toss the beanbag from one hand to the other, you toss it up to about eye level, and then down to your hand. And that's, the first time when you first start doing this, you might end up throwing it too far, or too low, or too high, or too short, or things like that. So the very beginning of this whole thing is just practicing the toss. And here's one of the interesting things about juggling that's kind of cool. It's actually a cool thing about your brain, not so much about juggling. And the reason we want it to go about eye height is because all we really need to see is the apex of the arc of the toss. Once we see how that beanbag is arcing at the top of its toss, our brains figure out where it's going to go. So even if we go a little short, or a little back, or a little far, often our brains can figure out where it's going to be and get our hand to that spot so we can catch it without even looking. That's the cool thing about the brain, I think. But in order to learn how to juggle, you want it to be about eye level every time. So that is the first step, is just doing this. Walk around the house, watch TV. Well, don't really watch TV because you're kind of watching the beanbag. You're mostly listening to TV if you're going to do this while you're watching TV. Listen to a podcast and practice the toss, back and forth, and back and forth. All right? Step 2 is the exchange, like this. That's it. The exchange. Now, the thing about the exchange, the one little detail to remember, is when you toss up the first bean bag, you see it go up, you see it at its apex, and when you go to toss the second one, you want to toss it inside the arc of the original one. Not out on the outside, but on the inside. So, and then, of course, you catch the first beanbag, like so. See? Ooh. The first one goes up, the second one it gets tossed up on the inside of the arc of the first one. All right? So once you've worked out your toss, and you practice that back and forth for a while, listening to some podcasts, then you do the same thing with the exchange. Just keep practicing it, back and forth, back and forth. Listening to a podcast, telling jokes to your friends, like, what do you get when a cow jumps over barbed wire? Some of you know this one. You're saying it now. Utter destruction. That's right. Step 3 is putting it all together. And the juggling then is just a series of the exchange over and over and over again, like so. See? And again, these beanbags are really great. I'm not stumping for the book, Juggling for the Complete Klutz, but it outlines this simple process, and it comes with the beanbags. And it is still available on Amazon. I mean, that's amazing to me. I learned juggling from that book decades ago, and you can still get it because it's a good book. So this is the start. Once you get this down, then you can start working on variations to the juggling, because this is the basic system, or the basic method. Now, earlier on when I taught you the exchange, remember, I said as the first beanbag is coming down, you toss the second beanbag on the inside of the arc of the first beanbag. That's what you might call normal juggling, I guess. But there is a variation on it, which is juggling on the outside. So as the ball is or the beanbag is coming down, you toss the next one on the outside of the arc of the first beanbag, like so. Oop, I almost tossed it on the inside. Which creates a different, I'm not really good at this, but it creates a slightly different look to how the whole juggling is going. And you might notice, if you drop it more, or I do anyway, you might notice my hands simply move in a different direction. On normal juggling, I'm doing like this. On the outside juggling, the hands go like this. Like so. That's called outside juggling. Another thing you can throw in, there are a variety of little tricks, of course, as you've seen jugglers do, is you can start throwing in little random things like bouncing it off of your arm. And rather than doing an exchange, you just bounce the beanbag back. Whoop. Or, let's see, I wonder if I can make sure it's just the yellow one I bounced. Maybe not. So that's one. Let's see. I don't know what this is called, to toss on the outside of the other hand like so. So it's, I don't know what that's called, but sometimes it can look kind of cool if you keep going and don't drop them. See, if I had tennis balls, I would be out of frame for much longer as I chased that ball down over there. Let's see, how many of you out there like to read? I like to read. When I'm done here, I'm gonna go pick up a favorite book of my dad's. Yeah, it's a sailing book. It's called The Story of the Seasick Sailor, or Ahoy There, Can I Heave Too? All right, let's see. Now, one thing I don't know how to do, so I can't demonstrate it for you, but I know how I could learn it, is juggling things like bowling pins or hammers or chainsaws, things like that. Longer items that are not ball-shaped or beanbag shaped, but things that will go spinning through the air. You've probably seen people juggling bowling pins like that. The method is the same, only it has the variation of the item spinning. So take this screwdriver. If I'm going to toss it, I want it to do one loop in the air as a part of the toss, like so. See, I can kind of do the toss, but I have never taken the other steps to go through learning the exchange and then putting it all together. But if you were to practice the toss this way until you got it so that virtually every time the screwdriver does one rotation, reaches eye level on the toss, and then lands in your hand, then you could work on the exchange and then put it all together. So that's juggling screwdrivers. And essentially, these steps are all the same, whether you're going to juggle screwdrivers or whether you're going to juggle plates, which would be, you'd be tossing like this and they'd spin in the air, or whether you're juggling handkerchiefs or babies or whatever. They all have slightly different factors to them. Like with the screwdriver, you want it to have the one rotation in your toss. Handkerchiefs have a way of, they don't toss like anything else. They kind of go up and then drift down. So that's a tough variation to work with. Oops. Now there's one other method about juggling that I'll share, and it's another one that I'm not very good at, and that is called the overhand method. Now we've talked about the ways the juggling that I've showed you is an underhand sort of thing. Your hand, the back of your hand is facing down. It's under the bean bags as you're juggling, whether it's inside or outside. The overhand method does this. It has the hand you're catching and tossing the bean bag with the hand over it, overhand. So it's a little trickier, but you gotta, again, the three steps are the same. You practice the toss over and over and over again with this overhand method, where your back of your hand is facing up. Release and catch, release and catch, release and catch. Then you go on to the exchange. See, not very good at it, but you do the exchange like this until you get that down for a while. I'm okay on the exchange here. It's putting it together. It's kind of a fun looking method of juggling when it works. See, I can get a couple in, but you end up with your hands doing this smack, 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 smack kind of motion while you're tossing your bean bags around. All right, well, I think that's about it. I hope you have enjoyed this installation of juggling for the, 20-Minute Tuesdays. And again, I would recommend the book, Juggling for the Complete Klutz. But for the most part, those are the three steps, and all it really takes is some time. Practice the toss, practice the exchange, and then put it all together. Thank you for joining me here at 20-Minute Tuesdays. If you haven't checked in on 20-Minute Tuesdays before, I would encourage you to go back and look at a couple of the others that are already online. And like and subscribe, if you haven't already subscribed, to the Rock of the Foothills channel. Woo. And stay tuned for more to come on 20-Minute Tuesdays. Thanks you very much. See you next time.